mean, you look at a guy like Federer. I mean, the guy's literally surgical.
Yeah.
I mean, he will just carve you up.
Yeah.
And I see that when I see a guy like Kawhi. It's a very similar trait.
Totally. Ice fans, very special episode coming at you from Delray Beach. We are here with Canadian basketball legend Jack Armstrong.
Well, the check's in the mail. Thanks for saying that.
Of course. So if you don't know, he's a commentator for the Toronto Raptors, long time, and basketball and tennis, two of our loves apparently, and we're just going to chat a little bit about that. So what brings you down to Delray Beach at this time of the year, Jack?
I actually have a place here in Delray Beach,
okay.
And here on NBA All-Star break.
Right.
And for the first time in years, I didn't have to work the All-Star weekend, so I've been down here since last Thursday, and I go back to Toronto on Thursday night.
Beautiful.
We get the Raptor game Friday night and then Sunday night again. So just down here relaxing with my lovely bride, Dina, who's sitting over there.
Awesome.
I think she put her thumb up. It might have been a different finger. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's still here. She hasn't run out of me.
She hasn't run out of me yet. So we're just down here relaxing, and we love tennis.
Cool.
My wife is a huge tennis fan,
awesome.
And her late mother was a crazy tennis fan, and I actually took up playing. I've been playing. This will be my 8th year playing, so I love it.
Right on.
I don't play basketball anymore, but it's that same intense workout that you get playing basketball. So anytime I get a chance to play, I really love it.
Totally. So so is this your first time at the Delray Beach Open? You said you had a place down here.
Actually, how many times have we been to? 3 times? 3 or 4 times we've been to it, and it's always great. We're excited to see Milos play today.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to meet him here a few years ago, and I've met him at some Raptor games, and he's a huge Raptor fan. Dennis, we chatted with him.
Cool.
A few years ago here, watched him play. We actually came a few days. Dennis invited us back to watch him play, and
nice.
So I follow it as much as I can. It's funny during a few weeks ago we're on a road trip, and in the middle of the night you get into the hotel from one city to the next. You turn on the Australian Open and watch Milos or whatever.
Then you're up all night. Yeah.
So it's fun. It's a great sport.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to be here today. This is a tremendous event.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely is. Got to talk to you a little bit about the Raptors. We're defending champs, baby.
Yeah.
Obviously. So that's exciting. And they're doing really well this year. Obviously, the record's 40-15 right now. Weird connection to tennis there, 40-15. I don't know if there's anything weird.
I hope I have the 40.
Yeah, we have the 40. So I guess how special was it last year? Obviously, covering that they've been in a bit of a transition for I don't know, like the last 5 years before that, building, and then getting Kawhi, winning the championship.
It's been remarkable. I mean, if they win this Friday night against Phoenix, it'll be 7 years in a row of 500 or better. Obviously, it'll end up being 7 winning seasons in a row, 7 playoffs in a row. That's hard to do in the NBA. Not many teams do that. Mm-hmm. And then to look at what they've done in that time frame, and then last year winning the title, it was just an amazing experience. Yeah. I mean, I really didn't honestly sink in, Steve, till opening night this year against New Orleans when they put the banner up. And, that's something that now you walk in a building and, you go play in Boston and LA in particular, or even Chicago, all the banners there, you look up, you're like, wow.
Right.
So finally, I did Game 6. I was lucky enough to do Game 6 in Golden State where the Raptors won it.
Right.
And it was just so chaotic and so busy. You don't really have time to truly let it sink in. You work the parade and all the different events. But it really didn't sink in until opening night, and then getting your ring and all those kind of things. But the thing that's remarkable to me is just how great this team has been this year.
Right.
They actually have a better record right now than they did a year ago with Kawhi Leonard, with Danny Green, and a healthy team. This team has not even been close to healthy.
Right.
It's been a mess, and yet they've somehow, some way found a way. So it's one of the great stories in the NBA. They have the 3rd best record in the league.
Right.
They're the number 2 seed in the East. And quite frankly, nobody's talking about them, which is kind of disappointing.
It's disrespectful. That's how I would say it on the site. It's disrespectful.
But we're the North, right?
We're the Canadians. That was my next question, like how they're doing so well this year without any kind of bona fide superstars. But we've seen Pascal Siakam obviously rise up to be, I would consider now, a superstar. He's an all-star, one of the best players in the Eastern Conference for sure. That kind of plays into, I think, a bit of what I wanted to compare is the mental side of tennis, I think, is one of the most crazy parts about tennis. To me, it's the most difficult mental sport I've ever played, mostly because of the individual aspect of it. You can't get coached during the match. Kind of compare that to, like, I guess, mentality in basketball and the physical differences or similarities between basketball and tennis at the pro level.
Well, I'll use a guy as an example who I think would have been a great tennis player, and that's Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
You look at this guy's stone cold. I mean, like I used to joke, Kawhi's not dying of a heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just so level.
Yeah.
And I think you got to be really strong, and you got to be dialed in. First day of training camp, I know you're from Victoria. First day of training camp a year ago was in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there watching training camp, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy is dialed in, and has that ability to stay dialed in for long periods of time.
Totally.
And I think that's what greatness is. I mean,
Totally.
because this is a game of failure. Basketball, there's so many plays within the span of a game, and you're going to fail a lot. And same in tennis. I mean, you're going to fail a lot, but it's all about your ability to grind. It's all about your ability to be strategic and to kind of find that open spot, that weakness in your opponent at some point.
Yeah.
And find, when I was a young coach, I read the book Sun Tzu, Art of War, Choose Your Battlefield. And you got to literally choose your battlefield. You got to reach a point where you say, I'm just going to punish this guy's backhand or whatever it may be. You reach that point, and it takes a lot of resiliency to do that.
Totally. Yeah.
And I look at a guy like Kawhi, and he has that incredible, just stoic way about him that you look at. Even though, I mean, you look at a guy like Federer. I mean, the guy's literally surgical.
Yeah.
I mean, he will just carve you up.
Yeah.
And I see that when I see a guy like Kawhi. It's a very similar trait.
Totally.
Where they're just completely in the moment, and they're very professional about how they go about their business. So there's a lot of parallels to it, and the fitness element as well, and the east-west and the north-south and the quick bursts that you have to have, the great fast twitch muscles you have to have. I think in both sports there's a lot of similarity, and I don't have those fast twitch muscles.
Same, me neither, really. No, that's totally.
That's why we're talking about it rather than out there playing.
It's like we're just out here doing this. That's exactly what I think with the big three guys like Federer, Nadal, Djokovic. All three of those guys are just obviously clear and above the rest of the players in the ATP as far as mental consistency. I've always kind of thought, because it's not like they're always playing their best. It's not like they start a match their best. It's not like things always go the way they want, but they've been able to adapt during matches, during seasons, and throughout the 15 years plus, they've dominated the ATP Tour.
You bring up a good point, because it's interesting. I talk about this Raptor team right now that's exceeding beyond expectation. And there's a lot of nights in those 40 wins that they could easily lose.
Yeah.
And a lot of nights, as you say, you don't have your fastball that night. Now you got to go up and away and down and inside, wherever. You got to move the ball around the strike zone. You might have 3 miles an hour less on your fastball that night. And it's the same thing. Your serve might not be as good that day. The conditions, and the great teams, the great players still find a way to scuffle and just grind out a point and grind out a match and grind out a game, because as you know, it's so easy to lose.
Totally, yeah.
Losing's very easy. It's very easy to lose.
No one's going to give it to you. Yeah.
It's really hard to win.
Yeah.
And I think when you mention those three guys and you look at great teams, and my sport obviously has been basketball, but I'm a huge fan of all sports. I think that's the quality that you look at. That I think too often, because we're such a sports highlight-centric society, that people don't watch the games as much and realize not every play's a highlight.
Totally, yeah.
And you got to grind your way to maybe the moment where you have the highlight, but the most of the night, it might be a lousy night for you, but you have one stretch where you play really well and you find a way to win the game.
Yeah, there's a book out there, I think it's by Brad Gilbert, called Winning Ugly, and in every sport, even the best guys who can obviously win beautifully, but they can also win ugly, and they tend to do that a lot.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned Brad Gilbert. If I'm not mistaken, he coached Andre Agassi, and in the book, my favorite all-time sports book is Andre Agassi's book. I think I've had people I travel with the Raptors read
Yeah.
the book, and I say young athletes should read the book.
Right.
Not only young tennis players, but young athletes in general, because I think Agassi takes you on a great journey
Yeah.
into the mind of a young athlete, both the successes and more importantly, how insecure at times he was, and his doubts
Right.
about himself as an athlete. It's a
incredible,
it's
yeah.
a great book.
It is.
And Brad Gilbert called him out as a young player,
Right.
and kind of changed his mindset
Right.
as an athlete. So
Cool. Yeah. No, we love BG Tennis Nation here. Last question for you. So I know I would assume that you're a big Raptors fan.
Well, it's interesting. I spoke at a Raptors basketball camp a number of years ago. A little kid raised his hand and goes, "Mr. Armstrong, you grew up in New York. You must be like
Exactly.
a Knicks fan or a
Yeah.
Net fan." I said, "No, I'm a Raptor fan. They signed my check."
Oh yeah. Fair enough.
So yeah, so absolutely,
Fair enough.
I'm a Raptor fan.
So in my world, I'm a huge Federer fan, and there's like very hostile camps between the big three guys. And so in my commentating on the World Tour,
I'm a Milos fan today, by the way.
he's a Milos fan. He's like Switzerland, even though Milos is from Canada. He's neutral. What's your thoughts on bias in commentating? Because I've noticed, I've watched you for years now, and it's like sometimes you're the greatest commentator, but sometimes you can tell you're kind of pulling for or for the Raptors to get the call, or you're saying, oh, the refs are against the Raptors tonight, and that could be seen as bias, and I'm always seen as bias. So I guess how do you be a fan within commentating?
I try to be fair and
Yeah.
objective. My job's to inform
Right.
and entertain.
Yeah.
ESPN is the entertainment sports network. The company I work for is Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment.
Yeah.
So you have to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sports. I'm not curing any incurable disease here. I'm not I'm not doing anything really all that important. So I'm going to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Would I rather see the Raptors win than lose? Sure.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm going to give credit to the other coach,
Totally.
the other team. If a ref makes a good call, I'm going to credit the ref. So I want to see a good game, and I think I try to be as fair and as balanced as I can be. I also understand my audience. It's national television in Canada.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, they want the Raptors to win.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be a little bit more, give it a little more juice. But I used to do college basketball for years for ESPN,
Oh yeah.
Fox, MSG, and I'm calling a game where I have to be a neutral guy, where I'm excited not only about your team, I'm excited about the other team as well. Whereas when I know my audience, it's more Canadian centric.
Yeah.
I'm going to be more in their corner. But nonetheless, there are times, I have a theory I use. It's either 98-2 or 99-1, where overwhelmingly I'm going to try to be upbeat and enthusiastic and positive about what I'm seeing with the Raptors. But there's that 1% to 2% for your own credibility and the ability to establish when you are positive, that there occasionally you have to say, you got to call a spade, where they're not playing well, if they're not playing hard,
Yeah, totally.
if they make a bad play, you got to have the ability to call them on it, and people have to understand that that's your job.
Totally.
You can't be a shill, you can't be a homer, because you have zero credibility, and if people think you are, they're going to tune you out because they don't feel. That's why and obviously John McEnroe's in a totally different sport, and he does it where he's got to be impartial. But I love listening to him call a tennis match. I mean, I'm a fan of analysts in different sports. Tony Romo in football.
Right.
now.
Yeah.
I think he's terrific. I mean, obviously Johnny Max. I'm a New York guy like him,
Yeah.
so we call a spade sometimes, and I think you got it.
Yeah.
And but to me, it's a great job. It's a lot of fun, and I always say this. And what I do for a living is sports version of white collar crime. I mean, basically, I'm an unemployed coach who got fired. They put a microphone in front of me. When I was coaching, people thought I was an idiot, and now suddenly they put a microphone in front of you, and now you're an expert.
And now you're a New York guy in Canada, and everyone loves you.
So it's the greatest scam going. I highly recommend it.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us,
Steve, my
Jack.
pleasure.
And Slice fans, follow the Raptors. You should be a Raptors fan. I don't care if you live in Turkey. We're a Raptors fan here on The Slice, and yeah, thanks again, Jack.
You got it, Steve. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. Last thing, I got a little present from you from our guys at Canada Dampeners. It's a dampener for a tennis racket with the Canadian flag on it.
Wow. So I'm going to put this on my racket.
That goes on your strings.
Yeah.
Keeps you
With
tied to the
pride.
homeland with pride.
I have one with a shamrock on it.
Oh.
Now, so the shamrock and the maple leaf.
Yeah, beauty.
We the North.
We the North. Welcome to The Slice.
Welcome to The Slice.
Welcome to The Slice.